that
I
this
gotcha.
call is being recorded.
Sure, no problem.
Yeah, so that wasn't very well. That's what happened. Okay, so my
All
name
right.
is Carla. Let's kind of start here. Okay, so my name is Carla, and I work. I'm in a project management organization. We call ourselves Infrastructure Delivery Planning. We kind of have different names for things at ESI. So I'm what we call a domain planner, which is basically the equivalent of a program manager. And I'm in the mainframe infrastructure space. So we have some delivery managers that report up through me. They report their work up through me. They don't report to me. So, and then on the call we have Frank, who is my equivalent on the database side. He manages the projects within the database. Okay. And then we also have Pam, who is one of the delivery managers that manages, I think, a couple of Frank's projects in Frank's portfolio or domain.
Gotcha. Understood.
So we were given a set of canned questions that we all agreed to kind of abandon, and we just kind of talk about maybe our projects that we have open and maybe your past experience and kind of how you feel like that would or wouldn't be a fit.
Sure, that sounds fine.
Okay, Frank, do you want to maybe start?
Yeah, sure. And like we said before, whatever, we're not trying to gang up on you. We're just trying to keep your life simple and have one phone call instead of 3 today. So
that sounds good. That sounds good.
Bear with us, because we're all probably interested in the same thing. So
right, no problem.
Yeah, I'll just give you a little bit of background. In like Carla said, I'm a domain planner or basically a program manager for the database projects that occur at xRxPhoneIntrvw. So, I've got projects in Oracle, and Pam manages a lot of those. I've got SQL Server. I've got some of the next-gen stuff. And I also have an effort in DB2 this year to basically get upgraded to version 12 of DB2. So I need somebody to drive that. Okay. And at xRxScripts, we're not really worried about managing, budgets and things like that. I mean, the way we're doing things now, none of that really comes into play at our level or my level or even my boss's level, believe it or not. So, what I really need you to do, and it's probably the same with Carla and stuff like that, is, I need just, somebody to basically, dog down people and things and drive and get stuff done. On my other 2 efforts, the other 2 delivery managers, Pam and another fellow that I've got driving the SQL Server stuff. What they do, for these upgrades and stuff is identify, working with the DBAs a lot of times, they identify the apps and the app owners that have databases out there. And then it's a matter of, getting a hold of those application teams and their subject matter experts and things like that, and start trying to come up with a plan to figure out whether coding changes have to be done, what kind of testing has to get done, and so on and so forth, and drive that and get that done. And it means working through or planning migrations that generally happen over the weekend. All of our production migrations basically happen Saturday night into Sunday. That's when we have our dark window, and our clients know that we're going to be down. I mean, basically XRxScripts, for all intents and purposes, we're up 24/7.
Right. Yeah, that's pretty standard. To do weekend implementations is a pretty standard practice. Yeah.
So it's a matter of getting implementation plans together, like Pam will go over with you and stuff like that, and getting change releases and things like that set up. But like I said, for my effort, it's more about dogging people and being in pursuit of these app teams, because they're like everything else. They're a pain in the ass. They don't want to do stuff, or what you find is a lot of times, people sort of deem the infrastructure stuff to not be so important, right?
Right.
So then then there's other folks that you need to work with to try and get things prioritized and to and try and bubble your effort up in their list a little bit.
Right.
We are quote unquote. We've made the transition to an agile type of format, and while XRxScripts is quote unquote agile, a lot of the infrastructure stuff really isn't. I mean, this DB2 effort or any of my other efforts, these are projects that go on for 1, 2, 3 years, to try and get this stuff done.
Right.
And even trying to get one app moved is not something that's going to happen like in a 2-week sprint or whatever. I mean, there's some things that Pam has worked on that, she's planned out 5 or 6 months, that it takes her to get something done.
Could I ask a clarifying question on your process there? Typically when you're upgrading, say from DB211 to release 12, a truly central role in there is the DBA group itself, testing out the new features and so on and so forth. Does your role pick up after they're complete and happy working with the new release, and now it's time, to sort of get on the case of the apps to do their regression testing? I just in terms of sequence and process at XRxScripts, if you could tell me a little bit about that.
Okay, well, that's a good question, because actually one of the things that we decided that we had our planning meeting about a month ago, and I basically took on both of those roles. Normally I deal with just the DBAs, and we're managing the efforts on the database, and not so much the installation of version 12 and stuff like that. That's another group.
Okay.
For this particular effort, the delivery manager that I bring on is going to do both of those roles. He's going to work with the infrastructure team to basically get DB2 installed where it needs to be installed, get all the testing and stuff like that done. And they've done some of that stuff already. But, get a lot of the testing and everything else done. And then once the environments are squared away and ready to go, then it'll be working with the actual DBAs to start identifying all the app owners and things like that, and working with the DBAs to get the data migrated to the new environments and stuff like that. So, yes, it's going to be both of those efforts for this particular position that we're looking to fill.
Understood.
But normally in XRxScripts, those are two different, they're two different entities doing it. It's just on this particular project, we sort of agreed, instead of both of us trying to bring in somebody and like having those two resources coordinate and stuff, we said, well, let's just bring in one resource and let them run with everything, because then they're just coordinating with themselves, and it should be a lot easier.
So just so I have an idea of the current state, do you have DB212 in some test environment for the DBAs to be tinkering with as we speak?
Yeah, they have it up in a sandbox, I believe, and the DBAs are playing with it now.
Right, understood. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was just going to go ahead and talk about the project that I've got, which is kind of like Frank's in that it's a multi-year initiative, I'm sure. We'll never get it all done in 2019. So the way that our landscape is laid out right now, I would just kind of lovingly refer to it as a rat's nest. We've got a Prodplex that's got 12 LPARs on it that are comprised of pre-prod, production, and post-prod environments. So we've had some outages because of something in a pre-prod causes prod to come down because they're all in the same plex. So we're re-architecturing all of that. What our intention is to create, obviously, move that pre-prod environment off of the Prodplex, and in so doing, create a highly available, so an active-active situation.
Right.
So what our intent is to just bring up 4 new LPARs, 2 in 2 different data centers for complete redundancy. it just sounds simple. Bring it up and then migrate everything. We create them with full functionality and then bring everything onto those LPARs, then blow away the old ones. And then also create a separate area for post-prod for, client-facing post-production LPARs. So we're going to divide it up into two projects. So I'm going to need two DMs, actually, delivery managers. One is going to be handling all of the production, bringing up these, the 4 highly available LPARs. So, if we sustain any vulnerabilities, we will be out for like a matter of minutes, versus our current state. And then the other is going to handle all of the non-prod, so the pre-prod and the, post-prod environments, getting those stood up and getting everything migrated out of that ProdFlex. Then our ultimate goal, of course, would be to just blow away all of those existing LPARs that we have.
Gotcha. Understood. If I just a question on terminology, if I may, Carla. What do you mean by post-prod? Is that recently retired infrastructure, whereby if you have a production problem, it returns, or what?
No, we've got a few clients that we've sold some capabilities to where they have direct access to their specific de-identified data, and they get in and they do things with, I don't know what all they do. They do some adjudication of claims based on changing various benefits and things like that.
Now, okay, I see. It's almost like legacy for class actions and stuff like that. I get it. Yeah.
That, but also, I think our clients we have a couple of clients that get in there and they change their benefit structure and then try to adjudicate it. It's a whole client-facing.
I see. Okay.
Module there.
Understood. Okay.
And that one involves a ton of data. They are loading and unloading and data. Their actual data traffic is higher than it is in production because of client requests.
I gotcha. Okay, so you have things such as archiving and secondary storage that offloads either on a schedule or on the basis of some other type of criteria.
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly.
Right.
And so that also highly involves our DBAs. So there would be some interaction there as well. So where we're at with this particular project, we just had a pre-planning meeting yesterday, and we kind of have a high-level strategy, and we've identified stakeholders. That's where we're at. So there's
that's
no
pretty early. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. There's no project plan in existence, but in our most recent planning event about a month ago, this was identified as the #1 reliability project going forward. So it's going to have some significant visibility, and we really need to make some significant movement on it this year.
Understood. Okay.
So, so what I would be looking for is someone to literally create a project plan and just keep everybody marching to it.
Yes, I've done that a number of times. We typically use spreadsheets with a wide distribution, a sequence of steps, the party responsible, the current state, notes, and that type of thing. Yep.
Great.
Target dates and all that. Yep.
Yeah, just a ton of coordination. It's such a, like I said, it was kind of unraveling the rat's nest. So.
Right. Yes, it needs to be organized, and I guess the person who you choose to fill this job would have the authority to call weekly meetings with specific groups or whatever schedule is necessary to make sure they're on target and so forth.
Yep, exactly.
Oh, okay. And is it mostly in Franklin Lakes, or is it in St. Louis, or do you typically do much in terms of video conferencing? Where's the personnel for the most part for the person who would get this role?
For the most part, all of the players for my team or for this project are in Franklin Lakes.
Oh, okay, great.
We do have video conferencing tools, and we all have WebEx and that kind of thing. So we can engage as needed. Any outliers, but generally speaking, the position is based in Franklin Lakes because that's where all the players are.
Understood. Okay.
And for, I was going to say, for mine, some of the DBAs are in Franklin Lakes, but they're also in Bloomington and St. Louis. So, I mean, you're dealing with everybody, you know, in several offices around the country and stuff like that. And it's really not that big of a deal, although, you know, sometimes being able to go and perch at somebody's desk, you know, can be helpful at times.
Yeah,
so.
right. But really, we're talking about two time zones in this country. You don't have an offshore team on the other side of the world or anything like that with respect to these projects?
Not that we need to worry about. We do have offshore, but mostly they do a lot of the production support and stuff like that because they take care of a lot of like stuff that's happening overnight, you know. But in general, most of the folks that you're dealing with are either in the Central or Eastern time zone.
Okay, fair enough. No, I ask because I have managed projects where we would ask folks in India to stay late during their day for an 8 a.m. Eastern video conference. And I just wanted to know, you know, to what extent that's involved. But it looks like for this project, I wouldn't need to do so much of that.
I don't see that for either one of these projects.
Okay.
But I think too, Carla, I think our teams know when to have you do that and when not to. So like if they know that somebody offshore is needed, then they'll arrange for that early morning meeting. They'll let you know that. Otherwise they split very well. You know, offshore might be the team you work with on Saturday night just because they're there and that's their regular work day, where, you know, when you're actually doing an implementation, whereas during the week you might be planning with your onshore team. So they'll let you know that.
Sure.
Right.
I got it. All right. And implementations, they typically begin evening Saturday, and do they go deep into the Sunday AM, you know, into the dead of night, or it just depends on the size of the implementation?
Well, our dark window is from 12 midnight, you know, Saturday night until 6 a.m. on Sunday morning. That's you know, our quote-unquote standard dark window, and a lot of these migrations and changes happen now. Some, you know, Pam has done numerous ones of these where she's had to like get, you know, authorization to extend it, you know, because she starts at like 6 p.m. or 8 p.m. on a Saturday night and goes till like 8 a.m. Sunday morning or something, or non-prod stuff can happen during the week, you know, so it's just really production that gets done over Saturday night from my stuff.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I was going to add, we do have, Mainframe does have a small window every night that we can do some things, but we can't bring the system down. So it just depends what it is and what complexity, and if we have to do a restart, basically do an IPO.
Right. There are, you know, many types of ordinary implementations. I'm not saying switching from DB211 to 12 is a very big deal, but a lot of ordinary implementations don't necessarily require bringing the machine down. It's really just a migration to the production libraries from your staging library, and you're in pretty good shape, you know.
Yep.
Yeah.
Want to maybe kind of let us know how something in your background, you know, kind of applies to what it is our environment and what we're looking for?
Sure. Actually, to go back to what Frank had been discussing, I've very often been on the receiving side of coordinators dunning us to test our application for compatibility. In other words, I understand how I can be sympathetic to how application people and managers are, you know, this is not their favorite thing to do in the world. They're not developing new stuff or anything. They're simply taking an existing application and running it through a lot of regression to make sure there are no compatibility issues with the infrastructure upgrade. In this example, it would be, going from DB2 11 to 12. So they have to set aside a lot of time, right? And they're not really advancing their own application. They're just making sure nothing's going to go wrong with it. So I've worked with those folks from the other side very often before, and those coordinators, that's an important job. They're maintaining multiple spreadsheets, often per app, with the many steps, and working with project managers on that side. So I've done quite a bit of that with my employers before, and I have a good idea for what's involved in it, as well as reporting and scheduling.
Okay. Now, we utilize, or Express Scripts utilizes Jira, Confluence, SharePoint. Have you played with any of that stuff? While we quote unquote use Jira to manage our workloads and stuff like that, the delivery managers and even the domain planners like us don't. We use it, but we don't live and die by it. Our product owners are the ones that really live and die by it. But do you have any experience with any of that stuff, or do you know what I'm talking about?
We did. No, that would not be all new. We had installed Jira where I had worked previously, and we started to use it, for building things such as workflow and test regimes and so on and so forth. So I don't have extensive experience with it, but I have been exposed to it. I've seen its interface and worked with it to some degree.
Okay.
That's helpful. So I know we talked a little about our office in Franklin Lakes. Is that somewhere that you could commute to?
Easily. Yes, I'm in the same county in New Jersey. It's in northern New Jersey. Yes, and that's very reachable for me.
Okay.
I live in Rutherford. That's the name of the town, if you're familiar with it.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
I used to live in Jersey, so.
Oh, okay. Right.
So yeah, I used to go to Flakes every day. Now, all right. So you've been consulting the last year and change or whatever. Ultimately, right now this is a consulting, position and stuff like that.
Yes.
But are you ultimately looking for a full-time position? Do you want to remain a consultant? What's your thoughts of your head around that?
I'm flexible. If it's in the better interest of Express Scripts to maintain people in a consulting role. That's really just an administrative structure, and I can accept that. That's not a problem for me. If, on the other hand, it's your process to perhaps try people for a while and then prefer that they come aboard as an employee, sure, I would absolutely consider that as well. So I'm very flexible there. Yeah.
Great.
Pam, do you have anything that you want to add, throw in, or ask?
I don't. You guys have been doing a great job, so I've been listening intently. It's been flying by, actually.
So, Wayne, do you have any questions for us?
Hi. Do you have a time frame when you'd like to bring one or more persons on for this role, and what does it look like for you administratively with respect to interviewing, and perhaps when you'll actually fill the position?
Yeah, that's a good question. Go ahead, Frank, if you have something.
I was going to say, my thing is I need somebody yesterday. So, we've got a couple folks, lined up that we're talking to and stuff like that. So I would tend to think that, I'm hoping, within the next couple of days we can, we can make a decision on whether or not, we want to try and pick somebody up or whatever. And then it's all a matter of just how long it takes, ESI to get a contractor on board. And to be perfectly honest with you, I don't even know what that is nowadays right now, but I would assume it's, a week or two or something like that, to do something like that. So, I'm hoping by you know, the next 2 or 3 weeks I have somebody on board, to be perfectly honest with you. I don't know what Carla's thoughts are.
Frank, you're based in St. Louis, are you, Frank?
Actually, I live in South Carolina. I work from home.
Okay. Go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt.
I used to.
No,
that's all right.
I was just going to tag on to Frank's comment of yesterday. Literally, we had a planning meeting yesterday, and I would have loved to have had somebody on board it already. So I'm in the same boat, sooner rather than later.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, you know, right now I'm playing the delivery manager for this one effort that I'm looking to hire for. So, you know, like, not that I can't do it, but I mean, the sooner I can get somebody in, the less I have to try and, you know, transfer over and, you know, so.
So understood. It's a role I'm familiar with. So if there's any other questions that you would have for me between now and the time you make a decision, you know, do feel free to contact me again. You know.
Great. All right, well, we really appreciate your time today. Thank you so much.
All right, and I appreciate your interest in me as well.
So I would assume that you would be hearing back from us probably the beginning of next week is going to be my guess.
Oh, that's great. I look forward to it. Go ahead, Matt.
And are you available now, Wayne, or do you have to give like 2-week notice?
No, I'm available now.
Okay. All right. Very good.
Sounds good,
Carla.
Yep. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
All right, and thank you.
Thanks.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.